So good morning everyone. My name is Abhay Singh and I welcome you all in today's video analysis of the Hindu. Today is 3rd of August 2024 and we'll start with the first news headline for the day. So this is an advertisement. We'll skip this advertisement. Now Supreme Court has asked government to overhaul NEET UG on a deadline. Top court pulls up National Testing Agency for lapses in conducting the test. Directed committee led by ex-ISRO chief K. Radhakrishnan to submit to center its recommendations on restructuring the test by September 30. So now Supreme Court has asked the central government that it should uh, it should work actively, and there was this committee which was formed by the central government for recommending the reforms in National Testing Agency. This particular committee will be headed by ex-ISRO chief K. Radhakrishnan, and he has to submit the report by September 30, which will basically contain that what things can be done to what are the things that can be done to restructure the whole working system of NTA, National Testing Agency. So this is the first news headline for the day. It is related to NEET UG examination. It is related to the reforms in NTA. It is related to the committee which was formed by uh, central government with K. Radhakrishnan as its chairman. This committee has to submit its report by September 30. Now this is another news that is related to the this natural calamity that happened in Wayanad. So search operation is still going on. The number of dead has reached above 300. So as of now, as we are discussing this particular news item, more than 300 people have lost their life, and there are very few expectations that no that there will be any survivor, because it has been fourth day, and so there are very less expectations that people will be alive. But again, the search operation is going on, and the official death toll is at 210. The official death toll is 210. The NDRF and various rescue teams have recovered 134 body parts. So this is the official figure, that 210 people have lost their life and 134 body part have been recovered. Now we will discuss this particular news in detail when we move to the sports section, because India has defeated Australia after 52 years. They have last defeated Australia in 1972 Olympics. So Indian hockey team has defeated Australian hockey team after a gap of 52 years. Last they have defeated Australia in 1952. Now, I need to clarify one thing, that under Article 341 Clause 1, the President notified the list in which there is that that scheduled caste list, and under Article 341, under Article 341 Clause 2, the Parliament is empowered to prepare a list of scheduled caste category. So basically, this is the thing which I want to clarify, because under Article 341 Clause 1, President is empowered to notify the list, and under Article 341 Clause 2, it is the Parliament who has the power to prepare that list. Now, so so basically there was a petition in the Supreme Court. So basically this petition was basically related to that, this petition was demanding that there should be a special investigation team to probe, to investigate into the allegations of quid pro quo. So basically there was a petition in the Supreme Court of India, and in that particular petition, the petitioner had demanded that that a special investigation team, a SIT, should be constituted, which should be headed by a former Supreme Court judge, which will look into this particular aspect of electoral bond, quid pro quo. Now moving on. So yesterday there was a hearing of this particular case. Yesterday there was hearing of this particular case, this tragic event or the civic apathy which took place in Old Rajendra Nagar. So the High Court has issued the strictest possible guideline to the Delhi Police and the MCD as well. And Delhi High Court is of the opinion that Delhi Police is not able to investigate the case properly. They have handled the case very poorly. So they have transferred the case from police investigation to Central Bureau of Investigation. So because the High Court was not happy with the things that are going on, the High Court was not happy with the proceedings. So it has transferred the investigation from police to Central Bureau of Investigation, and this particular investigation will be overlooked by a retired Central Vigilance Commissioner. So basically, this is one good news that is coming from Delhi High Court, that it has transferred the investigation from normal police investigation to a central to CBI. Now CBI will investigate this particular case, and this particular investigation will be monitored by a retired CVC officer, a retired Central Vigilance Commissioner official. Now moving on to the next important news headline for the day. So this is a city edition, so there is a lot of irrelevant content, a lot of irrelevant advertisement. So we don't have to focus on these advertisements. We will focus only on the important content and the content which is important for your examination. We will focus on only those aspects of the newspaper now. So basically, Supreme Court has suggested the central government that it should try to form a neutral panel, and it will have to try to have a conversation with the protesting farmers. The Supreme Court on Monday advised statesmanship and empathy on the part of the government while reaching out to protesting farmers who have blockaded the Shambhu border linking Punjab and Haryana. It also suggested that the setting of a neutral panel to negotiate with the farmer. So now the Supreme Court has suggested that the central government should show some statesmanship, and they should have a conversation with the protesting farmers who are protesting at Shambhu border, which is a connecting link between, which is a link between Punjab and Haryana. This border, is continuously busy because farmers are protesting at this particular border. And also, Supreme Court has suggested that the central government should form a neutral panel to negotiate with the farmers. Also, this the most important line that was stated by the Supreme Court in this particular case, that ट्रैक्टर और जेसीबी अब ट्रैक्टर जेसीबी अब वहां जाने का समय आ गया है जहां पे ये बिलोंग करते हैं, that is a agricultural field. So the central government should negotiate with the farmers by farming or by constituting a neutral panel. That neutral panel will negotiate with the farmers. So this is a kind of suggestion that was given by the Supreme Court. Now moving on to the next important news headline. UP government continues to face heat over Nazul land bill. So basically, there was this a particular bill that was brought by Bharatiya Janata Party in Uttar Pradesh State Legislative Assembly. The bill was brought by the Yogi Adityanath government. So basically, let's understand what is this. First, let's understand what is this Nazul land. What is this Nazul land? So Nazul land refers to a government-owned land, but not directly managed as state property. These were originally acquired during the colonial period for purposes such as public utilities, administrative functions, or settlement of displaced individuals. Over time, they have been used or leased for various public and private purposes. So basically, Nazul land are those government or state-owned lands which are not actually managed by the state government, or they are not actually treated as a state property. But again, these lands have been given for the public utilities and administrative functions on a lease basis. So basically, what the things that the government has done, Now let's start. The Lok Sabha MP accused the BJP of deriving joy for causing suffering to the people even since the BJP came to the power. So basically, this is a feedback. This is a feedback of the opposition, that is Samajwadi Party. So this is not relevant. Let's move on to the important content of this particular bill. On Wednesday, the State Assembly has passed the bill that aims to prevent its conversion into private ownership. However, on Thursday, the Legislative Council did not approve it and sent it to the Select Committee of the House on the demand of the members of the ruling party. The bill proposes that any court proceedings or applications for transferring Nazrul land to private individuals or institutions will be cancelled and rejected, ensuring that these land remain under the government control. The bill allows the state government to extend lease for current leaseholders in good standing who regularly pay rent and comply with the terms of the lease. The bill has faced dissent from members of both the opposition and the ruling National Democratic Alliance, including several BJP legislators. Now this is one important news. Now, what is this bill all about? So, as we have already discussed, that Nazul property is basically the government-owned property, which are not actually managed or regulated by the state government. These properties have been leased to various beneficiaries. For the settlement, the individuals who were not settled after the independence, these land were leased to those people, and also these lands have been used for various public purposes, public utilities, and administrative functions. Now, the government has, by introduction of this particular bill, what the government is trying to do, so many Nazul landowners have filed petitions in the court that they want to basically that the property should be transferred on their own name. So basically, this bill will make sure that these kinds of demands are not fulfilled, and people will not get any land. The land will remain with the state government. The land will remain with the state government, and it will continue those leases only which have those leases only in which the leaseholder have regularly made the payment. So basically, this is all about the this Nazrul land bill. And the Bharatiya Janata Party has passed this particular bill from state assembly, but it was not passed in the state legislative council. So this particular bill has seen some sort of protest from Bharatiya Janata members of the Bharatiya Janata Party as well. So this is that one news that is coming all the way from that is coming all the way from Uttar Pradesh. Just remember what is this Nazur property. These are government owned land but not directly managed by the state government. Now, the Southern Bench of National Green Tribunal (NGT) has taken the suo motu cognizance. Now, what is the meaning of suo motu cognizance? So, the meaning of suo motu is now the meaning of suo motu is on its own. So, National Green Tribunal has taken the cognizance of this particular case on its own in the landslide which took place in Wayanad, and as it has also directed the Kerala and Tamil Nadu government to file reports on the landslide prone areas in the two states. So basically, National Green Tribunal on its own has taken the cognizance of this massive natural disaster which took place in Wayanad. And after the taking the cognizance of this particular incident, National Green Tribunal, the Southern Bench of National Green Tribunal, has clearly demanded that both the states, that is Tamil Nadu and Kerala, have to present a report, and in the and the report should the report should have all the name of all the areas which are landslide prone. So basically, NGT has demanded a report from Tamil Nadu and Kerala regarding the landslide prone areas. So this is one news that is and this particular event which took place in Wayanad, this particular natural disaster which took place in Wayanad is one of the biggest natural disaster of this particular decade, because uh, this official data is only 210, but we have to understand that two to three villages were completely gone. They were not there. Not a single house is even there. So you can imagine the exact number of deaths, and because of this particular reason, the National Green Tribunal has taken the cognizance or acknowledged this particular case on its own, and they have basically demanded a report from both the states, that is Tamil Nadu and Kerala, that how many landslide prone areas are in their particular states. Now moving on to the next important news headline for the day. Telangana government is all set to give Group 1 post of Deputy Superintendent of Police to boxer Nikhat Zareen and cricketer Muhammad Siraz. Now let's talk about this particular article. This is related to basically the relationship between India and China, and this particular article talks about five mutual uh, things which India and China should have to improve the relations of these two countries. Again, China has a bit of advantage over India, and what is that advantage? That China has established himself as a world factory, and China produce cheapest good in the world. So there is no there is no alternative available to the world at large, and so they have no options except for the investment in China. So basically, China is of the opinion that we do understand uh, the India of 21st century. We do understand the India, present India, because we were like the same before. Sometimes we have also seen same face. So we can cooperate a little bit. Both India and China can cooperate, and this is good for both countries actually. And it is actually true. One country is the most populated country, and another one is the second most populated country in the world. Both are on the verge of becoming world superpower. We are progressing to become a world superpower. India has decided to become a Viksit Bharat, Viksit India, that is developed India by 2047. During this Amrit Kal, India will become a developed nation. So basically, if we want to develop at a certain pace, then we have to maintain or stabilize our relationship with our neighboring country. And when your neighboring country is such a powerful country, which is five times your economy size, and it is the most powerful country in the world. So now let's move into this particular article, and we will not cover this article in much of the detail. We will discuss only important things, and what are these five mutual formula that was suggested by Zhu Fiong, the 17th Chinese ambassador to India. Now, so in recently, these Indian External Affairs Minister Mr. S. Jaishankar and his Chinese counterpart had met quite a few times, And so after these meetings, this particular article is also authored by Zhu Fiong. He's the 17th Chinese ambassador. Let's look at his perspective, what he thinks about India-China relationship. Now, China and India are close neighbors. We learned from each other in ancient times, shared wheel and woe in modern times, and have a common cause of rejuvenation today. China-India relations have become one of the most important bilateral relations. It is indeed important that China-India relations are, one of the most important bilateral relations among the various countries in the world, because these are the two one of the fastest growing economies in the world. We are the one of the five fastest growing economies in the world, and China has seen a lot of development, economic development in the last 40 years. So we do understand the importance of these bilateral ties. Now, foreign minister Wang Yi met with India's external affairs minister. So basically, Chinese foreign minister Mr. Wang Yi and India's external affairs minister Mr. S. Jaishankar has met quite a few times. In last 2 to 3 months, they have met quite a few times, and they have basically decided that we will work on our relationship, and the relationship between India and China should improve. So now this is Mr. Wang Yi. He is the foreign minister of China, and who is this ambassador, Chinese ambassador to India. So the Chinese ambassador to India is Mr. Xu Fiong. Xu Fiong is the 17th Chinese ambassador to India, and Mr. Wang Yi is the foreign minister of China. Now, Foreign Minister Wang Yi met with India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar twice recently and stressed that China and India should adhere to mutual respect, mutual understandings. Now, see, uh, these five mutuals which we were talking about, and the first one is mutual respect. Now, these are the five mutuals we have to understand. Please remember the name of these five mutuals because these are very important. And what are these five mutuals? First one is first one is mutual respect, then second one is mutual understanding, then third one is mutual trust, then fourth one is mutual accommodation, and the fifth one is mutual accomplishment. So these are the five mutual principles which S. J. Shankar and S. J. Shankar and Wang Yi has stressed. Now, this particular concept that is five mutuals have been is going to work, because this is basically about this mutual respect. Both the countries should respect each other, both the countries should respect each other's boundaries, especially China should respect India's boundaries, given its intentions with Arunachal Pradesh and the kind of situation it was creating in Jammu and Kashmir. And also mutual understanding is very important, because we are neighboring countries. If we do not have mutual understanding, then we will have a lot of conflicts. Mutual trust, again, mutual trust is a key for for a key ingredient. It is a key ingredient for strengthening the relations of India and China, because China is a kind of rogue nation. Nobody trusts China. So basically, if with this particular element of trust is missing between this India and China, then we don't have to. Then there is no need of giving so much of effort, because first there should be a mutual trust, then mutual accommodation. We should be accommodative, and mutual accomplishment. We will see a bit in detail about these five mutuals. Then we will shift to another article now. Now let's focus on the first important aspect, the first mutual that has been discussed. So the first mutual is mutual respect is the prerequisite for the India-China development. Now, what is this mutual respect? Let's understand what is this mutual respect. Mutual respect is the prerequisite. Mutual respect is the prerequisite for the development of China-India relations. As an Indian proverb goes, "Jaisa desh, vaisa bhes," which roughly means adapted the environment in which you are living. So basically, the first one is mutual respect. Now, what is this mutual respect thing? Now, let's discuss this particular mutual respect thing. Now, in the new era, it is of even greater significance for us to view each other with an open mind, respect each other's development path, social system, and role of the world stage, and jointly promote development and prosperity. So, what is this mutual respect? That China and India should mutually respect each other's perspective, each other's opinion, each other's development path. That China and India are very different. We have a different kind of government. China have a different kind of government. So we both should understand each other's social system, each other's societal system, each other's development path, and how we behave at international level. This is also very important. So this is all about mutual respect. Now let's focus on this mutual understanding. Mutual understanding is the basis of development of China-India relations. The two people empathized with the supported each other in the respective struggles for national independence and liberation. So basically, what is this mutual understanding that both India and China have a similar background. We both the countries have struggled for the independence. India got the independence in 1947, whereas China got independence in 1949. So we both share a similar background. We both got independence within a span of 2 years. That is, India got in 1947 and China got in 1949. China understand India's aspiration for national rejuvenation and support India's foreign policy of strategic autonomy. Now China is also of the view that we do understand India's aspiration. We do understand that India want to achieve everything because it is developing at the quick pace. And China has been in this situation. China has been in this situation a few decades ago. So China basically understands that India is aspiring to rejuvenate itself, kind of. It want to insert it want to inculcate new energy. And also China understand that India wants to establish its own identity at the world platform. So it's a strategic autonomy is also basically China understand. No country understand better than China what a great cause is it to be enable more than 1.4 billion Indians to live a good life, and how much effort it requires. So this is a very good statement which the author has given, and the statement is basically that no other country in the world has a population of 1.4 billion people. Only one country has a population of 1.4 billion people except India, and that is China. So basically, China is trying to assert that we do understand what it takes to fulfill the aspiration of 1.4 billion Indians, and also what it takes to provide a good life and a good standard of living to these 1.4 billion people. So this is the point on which we can agree that China was the first country in the world to cross the mark of 1.4 billion population. So China understand what it takes to develop 1.4 billion people. Now, the third point was mutual trust. Now, this is the most important fact. Mutual trust is the key to development of China-India relations. The international situation is more volatile and uncertain than before. More and more people have realized that as being among the largest developing countries, China and India should avoid mutual suspicion and attrition in order to rise together. So basically, what this author is trying to state, that the current international situation and also the current geopolitical situation is such that suspecting again and again, because everybody is so suspicious about China. So basically what this author is trying to state, that the current geopolitical situation and current international situation does not allow India and China to have such kind of suspicion over each other, because both these countries can help each other in developing. We have a different kind of perspective altogether about China, and China has a different perspective altogether about India. So we need to work on this particular thing, and we have to establish this element of trust between these two countries. Now, more and more people have realized that as being among the largest developing countries, China and India should avoid mutual suspicion and attrition in world to rise together, which is very important. We should start suspecting each other. We should start having suspicion over each other. Why? Because we are the two countries, China and India are the two countries at which the whole world is looking at. China and India are the two countries in the world at which all the countries in the world currently are looking at. Now, mutual trust is the key to development. We have already discussed. This is the third point. Now, moving on to the fourth point. Mutual accommodation is the guarantee of the development. Now, the fourth point was mutual accommodation. Now, mutual accommodation is the guarantee of the development of China-India relation. China and India are neighbors who cannot be moved away. It is natural for us to have differences and frictions. The key is to form a correct perception of differences and handle them in a proper manner. Now, the another important point. So, this article is written so wonderfully. This article is written so wonderfully. I must say this. The words have been chosen very wisely. So what is this mutual accommodation? That we are neighboring countries. India and China are neighboring countries, and nobody in world can change this fact, because it is a natural fact, and we have to stay together. So basically, what this author is trying to state, that there will be differences, and it is natural to have differences and frictions. Now, what is the best possible approach to deal with this kind of situation? That we should acknowledge these differences. We should acknowledge these differences, and we should work on these differences. That's the only way we can. That's the only way when we can progress. Now, let's look at the fourth mutual. This is the actual fifth mutual. The first mutual was mutual respect. The second one was a mutual mutual understanding, then mutual trust, then mutual accommodation. Now the last one is mutual accomplishment. Now mutual accomplishment will provide a new energy to India China relations. Now mutual accomplishment is the direction of the development of China India relations. As important emerging economies, China and India are both at critical stage of national development and revitalization, and enjoy broad common interest and space for cooperation. The third plenary session of the 20th Central Committee of the Communist Party of China, which concluded recently, launched a new journey of comprehensively deepening reform. China is advancing Chinese modernization on all fronts, which will provide new opportunities to the world. Now, so basically, what is this mutual accomplishment? That we both, with our country and as well as China, both countries are developing at a very rapid pace. Though China has this lower economic pace, China has a reduced economic pace, but we both countries are developing, and we are the one of the fastest growing economy in the world. We means India. So basically, we have to acknowledge each other's development and revitalization, and we have to cooperate more and more. Then only we can accomplish things, because both India and China have their own targets to achieve. India is set to become a developed nation, that is Viksit Bharat, by 2047, when there will be 100 years of independence. And China has also recently called for the third plenary session. So they have introduced some drastic reforms which will basically change the whole structure of China. So we both should mutually, work together. We should accomplish things, because we both are the growing economies, and we have a lot of aspirations and expectations. So basically, these five principles will basically help India and China in developing the relations, and which is also very important, because end of the day, we know that we cannot we cannot think uh, about China in a altogether different way. China is also a country. We should definitely adopt a different approach, but again, that approach should align with the principles of the economic or the development or the core values of India. Now it is related to the latest judgment which was delivered by the Supreme Court of India on 1st of August 2024. This particular judgment was delivered by a seven judges bench which was headed by Mr. D.Y. Chandrachud, CJ. And this 6 is to 1, the judgment was given with the ratio of 6 is to 1. The minority opinion was given by the Justice Bela Trivedi. Now, let's start with this article. So now again I will try to mention one thing, that Article 341 Clause 1 of the Indian Constitution talks about the notification of the scheduled caste list by the president, whereas Article 341 Clause 2 talks about the creation of such list by the parliament. Now, the latest Supreme Court judgment, or this particular Supreme Court judgment, has allowed the sub classification of the scheduled caste category. Now, what is this sub classification? This is sub categorization. So basically, let's understand in a very brief moment, because we are making a video on this specific topic, so you will get all the information on that particular video. So only one thing that you have to understand, that imagine that scheduled caste list is a whole category of this is a whole category, it's a whole classification. Now there are certain categories inside that list, there are certain castes inside that list which are not getting the adequate benefits of this particular reservation scheme, so they have not been developed enough. So basically what Supreme Court had stated, that basically this particular thing can be done, the sub classification can be done for providing the enough benefit to the communities which has not got the benefit of which had not got the benefit of the scheduled caste reservation. So we can classify these communities, we can sub classify these communities, that they need some extra care and protection. Now this particular judgment has overturned a 19-year-old judgment which was delivered in the case of EV Chennaiya versus Andhra Pradesh. Now let's look into the few important anecdotes about this case. Then we will move into the next important article. The latest Supreme Court judgment allowing states to classify scheduled caste into groups and give preferential treatment to the weaker and more backward among them is in line with this progression. By a majority of 6 to 1, the court has rejected the idea that the Supreme Court constitute a single homogeneous class and that subclassification violate the equality rule. Now, basically, Supreme Court has refused this particular idea that scheduled caste is a homogeneous class. So if we talk about this, like if this is a very poor logic, this is a poor logic. Whosoever has given this particular logic is very, and what Supreme Court has also asserted the same, that this whole particular scheduled caste community does not is not a single homogeneous community, is not a single homogeneous class. अब इस सब मतलब पूरे जितने भी लोग शेड्यूल कास्ट लिस्ट में सब लोग एक जैसे नहीं. टेक अ वेरी फाइन एग्जांपल, सारे इंसान एक जैसे थोड़ी ना है, कुछ लोगों को एक्स्ट्रा केयर और प्रोटेक्शन की ज़रूरत होती है. तो वैसे ही सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने बोला कि जितने भी लोग हैं शेड्यूल्ड कास्ट कम्युनिटी में, उसमें से कुछ लोग ऐसे हैं जिन्हें एक्स्ट्रा केयर और बेनिफिट की ज़रूरत है, इसीलिए उनको आपको सब क्लासीफाई करके मेक श्योर करना होगा कि जो सारे बेनिफिट्स हैं वो उन तक पहुंच रहे हैं. अब इस पर्टिकुलर केस में एक इंपॉर्टेंट चीज़ और हुई थी, बिकॉज दिस वाज बस जस्ट अ पासिंग रिमार्क, दिस वाज जस्ट अ पासिंग रिमार्क. सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने बोला था दिस इज द टाइम वेयर स्टेट शुड थिंक अबाउट इंट्रोडक्शन ऑफ क्रीमी लेयर in SC and ST reservation as well. Now, this concept of creamy layer was introduced in the case of Indira Sohani versus Union of India. It was a 9 judges bench. It was a 9 judges constitution judgment. It was delivered in 1992. In that particular case, this concept of creamy layer was introduced. Now, the concept of creamy layer is that if beneficiaries annual income, family household income, or the annual household income is above rupees 8 lakh, then he will not get the benefit of OBC reservation, because he will fall under creamy layer. To get the benefit of the OBC reservation, you should fall under the non-creamy layer. So this was the concept of non-creamy layer. Now, in this particular case, Supreme Court has suggested that the state should look into the this introduction or the extension of this scheme of non-creamy layer or creamy layer to the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes as well. Now, this particular judgment is very important. Now, I have already explained what is classification. Classification is a broad category. Now, take one example. Humans are the category, and male or the child are the subcategory. So basically, जो scheduled caste की जो पूरी list है, उसमें कुछ communities ऐसी हैं जो अभी तक proper develop नहीं हो पाई हैं, properly grow नहीं कर पाई हैं. They have not got the enough benefit of this reservation scheme. So basically, Supreme Court has stated that there is sub-classification can be done. Sub-classification can be done. Now, the court had ruled that once the president notifies the list of SCs under Article 341, Parliament alone could modify it by law, and the states were barred from tinkering with the list. This judgment was cited by the Punjab and Haryana court while quashing a preferential sub-quota for Balmikis and Majhabi Sikh within the SC quota. सो बेसिकली SC कोटा के अंडर पंजाब में जो बाल्मीकिस और मजहबीस को सब क्लासीफाई करके एक्स्ट्रा बेनिफिट्स दिए गए थे, उसको वहाँ पंजाब और हरियाणा हाई कोर्ट ने क्वाश कर दिया था. When the matter came to the apex court, a bench doubted the correctness of E.V. Chennai and referred the question to a larger bench. सो बेसिकली अब जब ये क्वेश्चन सुप्रीम कोर्ट के सामने पहुंचा, तो अब जो ये पंजाबी बाल्मीकिस और मजहबीस वाला केस में जजमेंट आया, ये जजमेंट का बेसिस क्या था? ये जजमेंट का बेसिस था ईवी चिनाया, क्योंकि पंजाब और हरियाणा हाई कोर्ट ने जो ये बाल्मीकिस और मजहबीस को सब क्लासीफाई किया गया था उस SC कम्युनिटीज़ में, उसको जो रिजर्वेशन मिला था, उसमें ई चिनाया वर्सेस आंध्र प्रदेश केस का ही रेफरेंस दिया गया था. So Supreme Court looked into the correctness of this E.V. Chennaiya case and formed a larger bench. That's why Supreme Court has to form a 7 judges bench, because E.V. Chennaiya judgment was given by a 5 judges bench. So Supreme Court constituted a 7 judges bench, and it has overturned a 19-year-old judgment. Now this judgment has been overruled, because E.V. Chennaiya talks about that there should be no subclassification. And the current order of the Supreme Court clearly state that for the benefit of the categories which has not got the enough benefit of SC and ST reservation, there can be sub-classification. The majority verdict is based on a clear recognition that SCs do not constitute a homogeneous class. Under the presidential list, they have a common constitutional status, but it does not mean that there are no differences in the context of the backwardness among them. So Supreme Court was very clear with his opinion. Supreme Court is very clear with his opinion. Supreme Court clearly acknowledges that this that SCs do not constitute as a homogeneous community. They are not a homogeneous community. There are differences. There are societal differences. There is a difference on the basis of status, income, class, caste. So these are the things. And so that Supreme Court has clearly stated that the President, we understand that under Article 341 Clause 1, it is only the President who is empowered to notify the list about Cs and STs. And under Article 341 Clause 2, it is the Parliament who prepares such kind of list. But again, this particular preparation or creation of list basically gives them only constitutional equality. Constitutional equality और कॉमन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल इक्वालिटी. भाई आपने कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में एक कॉमन लिस्ट क्रिएट करके सबका नाम एक साथ लिख दिया, उससे आपको बस कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल इक्वालिटी मिली. यू डिडंट गेट द एक्चुअल इक्वालिटी, यू डिडंट गेट द एडवांटेजेस ऑफ रियल इक्वालिटी. सो दिस वाज द रीजनिंग दैट वाज गिवन बाय द सुप्रीम कोर्ट कि एक्चुअल में अगर आपने सबका नाम एक जगह पे लिख दिया है तो इसका मतलब ये नहीं है ना कि सब लोग एक जैसे हो गए. देयर आर स्टिल, देयर आर ऑलरेडी, there is existing differences between these two communities. So these are the things which were stated by the Supreme Court. Now let's discuss this last para, then we'll move to the next important point. Four judges have taken the view that excluding the creamy layer among the STs from the reservation benefit is necessary to give full effect to the principle that the weakest should get the benefits of affirmative action and not be elbowed out by those more advanced than them. So basically क्या हो रहा है इसमें basically SC reservation में that कुछ communities को reservation पहले मिल गया, तो उनका जो स्टेटस था वो बाकी कम्युनिटी से थोड़ा सा ज़्यादा इम्प्रूव हो गया. तो वो लोग क्या कर रहे हैं कि अब हर सब्सिक्वेंट जनरेशन में उनके पास ज़्यादा रिसोर्सेज हैं, तो उन्हें इस रिजर्वेशन के बहुत सारे बेनिफिट्स मिल रहे हैं. तो वीक जो लोग हैं वो और वीक वीक जो हैं वो बहुत स्लोली प्रोग्रेस कर रहे हैं, और जो लोग ऑलरेडी डेवलप्ड हो चुके हैं, जो लोग प्रोग्रेस कर चुके हैं, उनका प्रोग्रेस बहुत तेज़ी से हुआ है. इसीलिए सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने बोला है कि क्रीमी लेयर का जो पॉलिसी है उसे एससी और एसटी रिजर्वेशन में भी हमें एक्सटेंड करना चाहिए. So this is all about this particular case. We will discuss this particular case in a very detailed video uh, on the YouTube. So don't worry about that. Let's now. So I'll give a detailed idea about this particular article in a very nutshell. Let's understand this particular article. There are two terms that you have to understand. One is this ELI and another one is PLI. Now, what is this ELI? So ELI means employment linked incentive. And what is this PLI? PLI is basically production linked incentive. So what this particular article is all about. So basically this particular article talks about that till date government used to give employee linked incentive. What is this employee linked incentive scheme? So basically इस स्कीम के अंडर जो गवर्नमेंट ऑफ द डे है या जो इंडियन गवर्नमेंट है, वो बहुत सारी जो बड़ी बड़ी कंपनीज हैं, बड़ी बड़ी फर्म्स हैं, मल्टीनेशनल कंपनीज हैं, फैक्ट्रीज हैं, इंडस्ट्रीज हैं, उनको ये लोग कुछ बेनिफिट प्रोवाइड करते हैं कि अगर आप इतने लोगों को एम्प्लॉय करेंगे तो हम आपको इतना बेनिफिट प्रोवाइड करेंगे. इट इज़ बेसिकली एम्प्लॉयमेंट लिंक्ड इंसेंटिव. सो गवर्नमेंट को हमेशा ये लगता था कि ये बेनिफिट मतलब ये सारे इंसेंटिव्स देने से क्या होगा कि एम्प्लॉयमेंट बढ़ेगा. बट अगेन देयर इज द थिंग दैट वी हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड, आपकी इकोनॉमी ग्रो हो रही है इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि आपके कंट्री में एम्प्लॉयमेंट भी ग्रो हो रहा है, एम्प्लॉयमेंट रेट भी बढ़ रहा है. Now we have to understand one important philosophy that have been discussed in this particular article. Then we will discuss this article without referring to this article, actually referring this article. Now this particular concept is very important. For a decade, the Modi government's economic philosophy was the traditional Washington consensus. Now let's understand what is this traditional Washington consensus, because understanding this traditional Washington consensus is the core idea of this particular article. So what is this traditional Washington consensus? Now what is this traditional Washington consensus? Traditional Washington consensus is nothing but it's a trickle down model that emphasizes the efficient production of goods and services in the assumption that it would automatically lead to jobs, incomes and prosperity of people. So basically traditional Washington consensus as that if you think that if you think that there is if there is a efficient production of goods, matlab if you think that if the production rate in your country is high, so what is this traditional Washington method, that if efficient production, if there is efficient production or if the production rate is high, then jobs will automatically go upward, incomes will also go upward, GDP will also go upward. So basically this is traditional Washington consensus, that if there is a efficient production, then you think that jobs, income and GDP will grow. But now we have to understand it is not necessary that every time when there is an increase in the rate of production, then jobs, income and GDP will also grow. So now till date it was तो जो एम्प्लॉयमेंट लिंक्ड इंसेंटिव होते थे कंपनीज को दिए क्यों जाते थे, विद द अजम्पशन दैट कंपनी को अगर हम इंसेंटिव प्रोवाइड करेंगे तो कंपनी और लोगों को हायर करेगी. बट ऐसा हुआ नहीं. लोगों ने क्या किया कि अपना प्रोडक्शन बढ़ाया और जो एक्स्ट्रा बेनिफिट्स उनको मिल रहा था उस बेनिफिट को उन्होंने कंपनी में नई नई मशीन्स, नई टेक्नोलॉजी, नया सिस्टम इन्फ्यूज़ करने के लिए हायर किया. अब इंडिया में बेसिकली अभी तक एम्प्लॉयमेंट लिंक्ड इंसेंटिव स्कीम की बात करते हैं हम लोग. नाउ लेट्स अंडरस्टैंड, लेट्स टॉक अबाउट दिस PLI, प्रोडक्शन लिंक्ड इंसेंटिव. Now we know that one of these initiatives yielded the expected number of jobs. Companies either pocketed the tax cuts without investing, or they invested more in equipment than in bringing people, than hiring people. Now companies have utilized these incentives, which they got under employment linked incentive schemes from the government. They have utilized this particular fund for investing in the equipment or investing in the capital building, but they did not invest this particular money in hiring people. So this is a kind of failure. This particular this particular scheme was a kind of failure, because they have the government has provided incentive to the companies, but the companies did not invest those incentives in the generating more employment. Instead of generating more employment, they have invested those money in the capital development. In 2020, the government announced a new production linked incentive scheme of a whopping 2 lakh crore as a financial incentive to be provided to companies based on the achieving of certain production targets. So basically, now this is also important, production linked incentive. Now government thought that by adopting this traditional Washington consensus, by having this policy of traditional Washington consensus, what government thought, that instead of providing employee linked incentive, we should provide production linked incentive. Now why this production linked incentive? The production linked incentive will basically, if you will produce such value of goods. Take one example, that if you will produce goods worth 10,000 crore rupees, then we will provide you this much of amount as an incentive, or we will slash your taxes, we will reduce the import duties. So these are the various kind of benefits which are provided to the companies. Now again, we have to understand that under PLI, under production linked incentive, it is not necessary that every time there is an increase in the rate of production, so there will be increase in the number of employment, because with every passing day we are becoming more and more tech reliant. टेक रिलायंस, हमारा टेक्नोलॉजी पे रिलायंस बहुत ज़्यादा बढ़ता जा रहा है, तो machines are much faster than human beings. So these are the various things that we have to understand कि आप प्रोडक्शन लिंक इंसेंटिव 2 लाख करोड़ रुपए की, 2 लाख करोड़ रुपए स्कीम प्रोडक्शन लिंक इंसेंटिव, बट देयर इज नो नीड, बिकॉज इसका कुछ जो डायरेक्ट बेनिफिट मिलना चाहिए था वो नहीं मिला. प्रोडक्शन तो बढ़ गया, पर प्रोडक्शन बढ़ेगा इस चीज़ की क्या नेसेसरी है ऐसा कि अगर प्रोडक्शन बढ़ा है तो जॉब अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ भी बढ़ेंगी? नहीं, दिस इज नॉट नेसेसरी. See, this is the actual situation of Kerala right now. People are dying, people have died, and this government official data is only 210, which is again very disturbing. So, Supreme Court has upheld the Tamil Nadu's Arunath Hathiyar quota law. So basically Arunath Hathiyar community है, इसको SC लिस्ट में प्रिपेयर किया था, SC लिस्ट में इसको इंक्लूड किया गया था. फिर इसको सब क्लासिफाई करके, इनको कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल स्टेटस, मतलब इनको जो सब क्लासिफाई किया गया था, इसको वैलिड डिक्लेयर किया सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने 7 जजेस बेंच में, जो हम लोग अभी डिस्कस कर रहे थे. अरुणाथ हथियार कम्युनिटी इज फ्रॉम तमिलनाडु, जिनको लेकर सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने बोला है कि ये बेनिफिट्स एक्सटेंड किए जा सकते हैं सब क्लासिफिकेशन के. Now, this is also very important that Indian astronaut and designates Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla and Group Captain Prashant Balakrishnan Nair have been shortlisted to go to the US to train for the Axiom 4 mission to the International Space Station. So basically, these two captains have been selected. Group Captain Prashant Balakrishnan and Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla. They will be trained at NASA. So they will be go to United States of America for the Axiom 4 mission, and then they will be transferred to International Space Station. The Axiom 4 mission is the fourth private astronaut mission in the International Space Station. So basically, this is the fourth astronaut mission when the private astronauts from a different space agency will visit International Space Station from India. These two astronauts are Group Captain Prashant Balakrishnan and Group Captain Subhanshu Shukla. They will visit International Space Station under Axiom 4 mission. Now, Indian Council for Medical Research have got rupees 120 crore from Bharat Biotech for Covaxin. Now, this particular statement was given by the Health Minister of India, JP Nadda, in the Parliament, that Indian Council for Medical Research have given Indian government, the Bharat Biotech has basically given rupees 172 crore to ICMR, Indian Council for Medical Research, for jointly developing the Covaxin. Now, also JP Nadda has stated in the Parliament that few months ago, Bharat Biotech has basically excluded the scientists of ICMR from in a research paper in which they claimed that it is the Bharat Biotech only which has prepared this particular Covaxin. But now JP Nadda has given a statement in the parliament that Bharat Biotech has accepted this particular fact, and that Bharat Biotech and ICMR has jointly developed this particular medicine, and for the development of the same, the ICMR has got the benefit of rupees 172 crore from Bharat Biotech. Now we have moved into the business section, so there is nothing important now. This time for India is very critical. Our relationship with China are not good. Our relationship with Israel are very good, but again, the day Ismail Hania, who was like this main commander, not the main commander, who was the main leader of this Hamas, was killed by Israeli forces. Now, India is a good friend. India is a very good friend of Israel, but again, we have certain economic interest in Iran. So this was just the photo that you are seeing at your screen at this moment. This particular photo, this photo I'm talking about. So Mr. Nitin Gadkari and this Ismail Hania had shared a stage just before just day before when Mr. Ismail Hania was killed. So this is the moment that India has to balance its relation with both Israel and Iran, because there is definitely things are not going good between these two countries, that is Iran and Israel. Now let's focus on the sports section. So this is basically a comparison between Joe Root and Sachin Tendulkar. People are asking, is it possible for Joe Root to break the record of Sachin Tendulkar for most number of test runs? Because still he is around 4,000 runs behind the Sachin's tally, but again it is achievable. So this is the first thing related to sports section. Now this is 10 about tennis, not important. Let's move into the sports section. This news is very important, that and I couldn't see this particular match, so I have seen the highlights of this particular match. That India has defeated Australia. India has defeated Australia after 52 years in Olympics. India has won this particular match with 3:2 goal ratio. इंडिया 3-2 से ये मैच जीता है, और हाइलाइट्स में आई कुड इजीली सी कि जो हमारे गोल कीपर है मिस्टर शिजेश, he has worked fantastically well. He was at the next level to yesterday. So India has defeated Australia after 52 years, after 1972 Olympics. This is the first time when Indian hockey team has defeated Australian hockey team. Now let's talk about the next big thing that is coming all the way from Paris. That Mr. Lakshya Sen, he's a 22-year-old badminton player. He has defeated Mr. Chen. He has defeated Mr. Chen to move into the semi-finals of the Olympics. He is the first Indian badminton player to qualify for Olympic semi-finals. So Lakshya Sen, a 22-year-old Indian shuttler, 22-year-old Indian badminton player, has moved into the semi-finals of Olympics 2024 singles event. He is the first Indian to qualify for the badminton singles semi-finals at the Olympics. So this is quite a huge feat for Mr. Lakshya Sen as well. He's just 22 years old. So which basically tells that how much hard work he would have done, that he had got this big success at such early stage. So it's always about end of the day, it's all about effort. So now this is related to cricket. That yesterday there was a one day international between India and Sri Lanka. This was the first one day international, and it ended up with a tie. So the match was tied. Both side have scored 230, and Mr. Dunith Vellalage was the man of the match. Mr. Dunith Vellalage was man of the match. He scored around 65, and he also took two crucial wickets of Rohit Sharma and Shubman Gill. Now, so with this, we have actually completed the news analysis of 3rd of August 2024, and I'll request only one thing. If you guys are watching this video, that please do like this video, subscribe to our channel, and also please stay updated, stay tuned for that specific video, the historic judgment which was delivered by the Supreme Court of India day before yesterday. We are going to prepare a YouTube session. We're going to organize a YouTube session for the same. सो थैंक यू सो मच फॉर वॉचिंग टुडेज वीडियो एनालिसिस. आई होप आप लोगों को समझ में आई होंगी चीज़ें. अगर कुछ समझ में नहीं आया, then do punch in your questions in the comment section. We will definitely reply to those queries. Thank you so much for watching today's video analysis. कल मिलते हैं वापस से। थैंक यू।